Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for downloading or listening to the podcast. This is the seventh episode of Dawsons Fine Art Auctioneers podcast in the series. In the forthcoming weeks, we'll be interviewing some people from the art and antiques world. But I thought in this particular episode, what I would do is I would touch upon a rather exciting sale that we've got coming up on the 31st of March. It includes a private collection of fine European furniture that predominantly came from this sale in 2007 at Sotheby's in New York, and it was the sale of the it was the dispersal sale of items from Arianne Dandois, the socialite and well-known celebrity in Paris. Amongst them, we've got some wonderful items, rarely seen. We've got a bull, a contrepartie bull, Bureau Mazarin, probably by Nicolas Seger, circa 1710-ish, round about there, 1690, 1710. It's a bull, just to touch upon, bull is a process whereby you contrasting materials are sandwiched together and a design is traced upon them and then it's fretted out. And so the contrasting components fit into the contrasting area or ground, I should say, and so it gives you a sort of a contrasting design. And you get contrepartie and premier partie. One is predominantly composed of a brass ground. The other one is a tortoiseshell ground. Tortoiseshell, of course. Of course, we don't agree here at Dawson's with any form of animal exploitation or any harming of animals, of course. But back in the day, it comes from two particular types of turtle, which are the hawksbill turtles, and they are in round about Southeast Asia, and also you can find them in the Caribbean. And there are two types of tortoiseshell. There's the carapace at the top, which gives a mottled kind of effect. It's comprised of platelets. It's a bit of a misnomer actually calling it tortoiseshell because it's actually not a tortoise, it's a turtle, it's a seagoing turtle. But the most prized tortoiseshell comes from the sort of belly of the beast, to coin a term, and that's blonde tortoiseshell. This is mottled tortoiseshell, of course. But for bull, first of all, bull, where do we get the word bull from, or the term bull? There was the eboniste, or French cabinet maker, if you wish, that gave his name to it was, I think, André Charles Bull, 1642 to 1731. He wasn't the originator of it. Early in the 17th century, there was a maker called, what was his name? His name was Pierre Gaulle, and he led the field in marquetry, because effectively it is marquetry. It's the inlaying of one material into another to give a decorative design. And he was the famous exponent, but carrying on from that, late in the 17th century, was André Charles Bull, and he really pioneered the use of metal foils mixed into the decorative technique. You see, so he used brass, he used copper, and he used to embellish them with engraving and also infill with stained horn, semi-precious stones, and they became popular. It went through various phases. They were popular at the end of the 17th, start of the 18th century. Then it fell from favour, and then come about the time of the French Revolution, the English made the most of the turmoil going on in France at the time. Quite a lot of fine bull pieces actually changed hands and came to Britain. A lot of them had the tops disposed of and were replaced with marble tops. And then it fell from fame. It fell from popularity again, and It became popular around about 1810ish, and you saw people like George Bullock representing Bull design, spelled differently, of course, for the English, Buhl rather than Boulle. And it became popular, and there were famous exponents. To name just one would be Town and Emmanuel, who were makers to George the Fourth and then William the Fourth. We actually have a piece of their, well, it's attributed to them, but I'm pretty certain it is by them. We have a writing desk circa 1830, a very fine piece, executed in rosewood and contraparty brasswork. And it's all fretted beautifully and it's intricately done. Again, part of this collection. But then it fell from favour again, and we tracked right the way through to Napoleon II. Napoleon the Third. Sorry, Napoleon the Third, in the late 19th century, and then it became popular again. So it restarted the. So it's sort of cropped up all the way through from the late 17th century to the late 19th century, really. We have other things in the sale. We have some very fine Egyptian revival candelabra, ormolu and patinated bronze. Ormolu, just touching upon, I'm sure people watching this who are completely familiar with ormolu and Buhl and all the rest of it, you can just sort of dial out for a moment. This is for the people who are not aware. Ormolu is a very specific method of decoration on bronze, whereby the bronze is coated with a mixture of mercury and pulverized gold leaf. So the gold leaf is put into a crucible. The mercury is added to it, and it's pulverized until it takes on this sort of consistency of a sort of fine paste. Then the bronze object is degreased with solvents. Then it's stippled on with badger hair bristle brushes, and then a flame is played over, or it's introduced into a furnace. It's a pretty nasty process, in honesty, because most of the people who used to do it went mad because of obviously the mercury vapor. Because when it goes into the furnace or flames played over it, what happens is the mercury evaporates and becomes fugitive, and just leaves the gold. And then further to that, you see the gold is then tooled in some ways. It may be burnished with lamb bones or agates, agate stones, to give a sort of contrasting either matted effect or a polished effect. So we've got a pair of those. They're very nice. We've got a large pair of floor-standing candelabra, which are possibly Russian, carved in wood. Again, that are gilded. A different process, of course. These are when wood is gilded. Invariably, or traditionally, I should say, the way it's gilded is water gilded. So it's a water-based size that enables you to impart a thin layer of gold over the surface, and then it's tooled. It goes on over the top of a material called gesso, which is a slaked clay that's painted onto the frame. The binder, of course, is good old hoof and horn glue. It's thinned and it's painted, and then the detail is cut back in with a scraper. Then it's coated with another clay product, which is termed bole, BOLE, and then the gold leaf goes over the top. So it's a very opulent and lustrous finish, which wasn't cheap. It certainly, the best furniture that it was applied to, it would have made them quite costly items. That brings me actually quite usefully to we have a pair of good 18th century chairs in the manner of Thomas Chippendale around about 1770, which would be quite late for Chippendale the First, in actual fact, because he died in 1779, I think, died of tuberculosis. A fine pair of chairs. What else is there? We've got a good Swedish mirror, because of course the Swedes in the early 19th century there was some very, very fine neoclassical furniture. We've got a mirror by Pierre Gustave Bylander, monumental piece, very much of the Egyptian revival. It all sort of echoes Napoleon's conquests on the Nile. So we've got that. There's quite a lot to go at. Some things which they're probably once in a lifetime, to be honest. Excellent pieces. We've got some very, very good and extremely rare Italian late 17th century tables, and each table is supported by a Roman slave, almost life size. And on the top is the finish of the slaves is an unusual lacquer. Also, it's called lacquer de Mecca, which simulates bronze. So that's those. I mean, extremely rare. I've probably only seen another pair in my lifetime, and having spent sort of 40 odd years in the furniture business. Someone described me as a woodworm the other day. So it's all very exciting thing. It's all very exciting stuff. And come and have a look, please. If you want to come and have a look, give me a call. Be more than happy to meet with you, and you can have a look then. Exciting stuff. Thank you.